Hello, dear friends. Well, it's been a little while since I've been on here. So this morning on my walk in nature, I just got real movement to share another YouTube with you. And it's because, as always, I'm going through my own process in this awakening and this huge, huge transformation that we're going through. And a lot of it at this point in my life is literally to step out of this paradigm and move into the new one or a new one because there's endless other options than what we are living in now. But because we've been so programmed, and part of that program is to literally believe that this is all there is, and that if we leave it behind, we are doing this infamous spiritual bypass. And I want to talk a little about that, when a spiritual bypass is not a bypass anymore, there certainly is a time where it can be and is, and it's not helping us to be free. But there's also a time where the spiritual bypass that we are actually engaging in is bypassing spirit itself. So it's a matter of finding where that change happens. And it's not like an abrupt, okay, it's now. It's a phasing out of the old. And I've talked a lot about the importance of just seeing what our attachments still are in the old paradigm. And that's the work we do to free ourselves. But we have to make sure that we really let go of those attachments and certainly identifications. And if we don't do it right, then we'll be pulled back over and over because there's something that is not right. And usually part of that something is that we still believe these attachments, we still believe they're real. It's very, very tricky. I mean, this is tricky, tricky business to get out of this mess. I can, I'm experiencing it myself, and it's not easy. And it, for me right now, for a while, actually for a long while, it's literally my sole focus to fully step into who I truly am and step out of those false, fake, programmed identities that we all live in and as and are believing, and make an effort to unhook enough from those identities that we can see them for what they are. Fake, not real, not me, not true. And when you get to that point, it's like a shift can take place where you can see it, and then you have that choice to let it go. It's not easy. Even here, when you see it, it still takes a lot of energy, effort. I don't really want to use the word effort because we want to get out of the efforting too. The efforting is a big part of the false matrix. So there comes a time where what we used to call a bypass is really not a bypass anymore. It's a very important piece of the puzzle to liberate ourselves. It's really important because if you keep going back, cycling back, like, oh, I need to do a little more work on that one. Oh, I have some unfinished business. So, oh, there's a memory, maybe a very traumatic memory from the past. Like, oh, I need to go and work on that. You may be able to recognize yourself in that. And it is tricky. It's not cut and dry. It's not black and white. It's a feeling thing that you need to sense into so you know when you can say no, no more, no more. We've done work for the last 50 years on that issue, and I'm going to walk away from it now. Just think about that. What happens in you when I suggest to literally walk away from it? I had a client a while ago where I was just beginning to kind of go a little bit in that direction, that maybe it's not necessary to keep diving back in and back in and back in. Something that this client had done for so many years and in so many different areas. And then there was another thing that came up somewhere else, and then, oh, another deep dive. So, where is when do you stop? And that is not something I can tell you. It's something that you really feel. For me, how I feel it is that there is a deep, deep sense of I'm done. I am done. And in that, I take back my sovereignty or my authority, and I choose not to go back into the false matrix to take another round and eat another meal and, and try harder. And all the energy is still in the false matrix. And you just keep feeding it. So it's not a cut and dry, but it's like, okay, this area I am done with and I'm not gonna engage in it anymore. Then I need to start engaging in something else, which is, of course, our true identity. And that true identity has a very different expression than this old one that is completely stuck in the matrix. So what is it like? What would it feel like to be out of that old challenge, that old identity? You can ask yourself, if you keep wanting to do more work on it. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. That is a very individual thing that we all will know when the time is right. But we have to be able to recognize and really know, like, I am done with that. It's a very solid feeling that you'll feel in your body. It's actually very empowering. And then all these old ones that we've been feeding for so long, they will try all their ways to pull you back in. Now you're taking that stand to be sovereign, be in your authority as it relates to these old patterns and programming, and you can say no. And when you do that, there's power in that, and that power is needed because we have been giving that power away to these unloved, unincorporated, whatever we want to call them. Now we can just love them. We can just say it's okay, but we're not going to feed their drama or their trauma or all their problems because we have done that for so long. So we can start stepping out of some of these old identities. We can literally start saying no more. Now I'm going to live as my true sovereignty, as my true authority, as my true identity. And what do you long for? Because that's, again, I've done so many videos on longing in the past. You can go to the playlist and look through them. It's the longing in your heart that will tell you where you need to hang out when you move out of this old false identity. You go to this longing, and that can be many, many things. Again, this is an individual thing. You need to do some deep dive on that so you can find out what it is for you. For me, I just want to live from an open heart. And I want to be able to receive the love that is surrounding me and not let these old patterns of protection or whatever it is that we're carrying not engage in that anymore. So let's say you want to live with an open heart, you want to be able to receive love in a new way, unprotected, trusting, then you need to know what that would feel like, because if you don't know that, then it's very hard to step into a new reality. So let's do this together just for a moment. What would it feel like to walk around in your life knowing, feeling, sensing that you're loved, that you can receive love with an open heart? This, of course, is just one example, but I think it relates to many people because we all live in a world where we are constantly a little bit on guard, right? Because we are used to being attacked in whatever way, in a gentle, little miniature way or in a big way. So there is a part of us that's always a little on guard, or cautious. So what would it be like to actually live fully open, a fully open heart, to allow the love to flow out and also in without, the prison walls? That is that's the new frequency. That, I would say, that is the new earth that we are stepping into. It's a whole new reality. It literally is a whole new reality. And this, of course, is my practice, and it has been for a while. Very, very dedicated to that. So when you start living as that new frequency in the new earth will be your version of your life without the past, without all these contractions. Then your heart can tell you what it is that you long for. And then when we give ourselves to that feeling, it comes alive. It starts filling you up. But because the old is so familiar, we have a tendency to just fall back into those old identities, even, without knowing it. You do this work, you walk, or you, whatever, you meditate and you feel this. And then maybe as soon as you get up, the old grabs you again, and you just, that nice meditation or that nice walk is just a memory now. We want to keep it alive as long as we need to do it consciously until it becomes our new default, our new true identity. Because right now, our identity for most of us is still being pulled in by the false matrix and all the programming. So this shift that we're making, it's like that is the real bypass, where we are not doing the spiritual bypass anymore. We're doing the unspiritual bypass because we are done with it. We have a sense of what is true and real, and we can feel it. And then we commit to that until that becomes natural. So again, in my own experience, as I've been doing this very consistently for quite a while now, suddenly for a while it's like, oh, I don't feel much is happening, but I know I'm sticking to it because this is what I want, and I'm not going to give up anymore. I'm not going to believe that it's not going to happen anymore. Oh, that's all the old paradigm. I'm committing to this until it becomes real, until I know it in my heart. So as we do this, you move along and it's great, and then suddenly the old comes in and here it is again. I'm going to give up. It's like, no, you do not give up. When that stuff comes up, It's because you need to step in even more, because this stuff that comes up, let's say, oh, it's never going to happen to me, is what has kept you back in the old false matrix. When it comes up, and that's why you need to be able to recognize it. You need to know when it grabs you before you get pulled in. So a lot of this is just a very strong practice in becoming conscious and aware of what is arising. And then also the old pattern that you will go along with it and be pulled back into the false matrix. But now, because you are more aware of it, you do have more choice. So maybe it happens 100 times a day where you automatically get pulled back. But now that you really have your eyes on it, you see it, you recognize it, now you have a choice. So even if that happens 1 or 2 or 5 times in a day out of 100, you are on your way out of the old, because the tides have turned. Where before you were pulled in 100% of the time, now you are beginning to pull more and more of you over to the new side. And then at a certain point, I don't know if it's 49, 51%, I don't know. I've heard it before, but at a certain point, it's as if something flips or shifts, and suddenly it's not hard anymore. Suddenly it's like, oh, there it is. Oh no, done. And I'm talking about deep programming, kind of the ones really at the bottom of the barrel, right? That you always fall back into. When you start catching those, and then you make that very conscious choice to go to what you long for. It's so funny. I know I've talked about this so many times on my YouTube channel, and yet it feels new and fresh every time I talk about it, because it's always a deeper layer. So when the old layers basically have been left behind and that you're not interested anymore, then a new one comes up, and then you need to, you just need to kind of keep moving up against it, and choosing and choosing and choosing. So it doesn't do this, but you just like, no, I'm going here. And it comes in like, no, I'm going here. And it will stop. I don't know if that's true, because that programming, right? The false matrix programming is all over. So it's always there as a temptation, as a suggestion. As I've talked about, Joe Goldsmith, he would talk about hypnotic suggestions, which is what this is. But when you catch it, you take charge. So whether it's going to be around for a while until all that old matrix is dissolved, I don't know, but we need to keep our practice alive every day, because the temptation is all over every day, and we need to, but so is the field, right? I've talked about the field, Rumi's field, right? Beyond right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. And in the Gospel of Thomas, he says, heaven is spread all over the earth, but man cannot see it. And those two I've talked so much about, because they are basically the core of what we're talking about. When you step out of the old, when it's not a spiritual bypass, it's because you're stepping into heaven, which is spread all over the earth, but we have not been able to see it until now, because we're beginning to feel and sense it. We long for it. It becomes more alive for us. We really want it, right? Or the field that Rumi talks about. There is that field beyond the false matrix. And now we choose to live in that field or live in heaven and let it show us what it is. And you will feel it because that's what you want more than anything. So as we're moving out of the old, it literally is like, God, it's like coming out of a mold, but it's been I often see it as saran wrap because it's really nothing. But somehow it colors your whole life, your behavior, your beliefs, the identities you're taking on. Maybe you're the nice guy always, or the people pleaser, or the one who always has the right answers, or the one who knows. I mean, we all have these identities, the spiritual one, the victim one. These are all identities that is all the saran wrap. And when you start seeing that, you just push the saran wrap away by saying no more. And then you focus on what you know is true or what you know you want. And then you can start stepping out of it. I haven't talked about this. I just want to mention briefly before we complete for today that I have been using some products, some frequency drops that I was kind of part of a little group where we were using them to see what it does. I would say the one that I have been using has been very, very helpful in separating. It's like completing the old. And it's a deep, subtle thing with dreams coming up and old things just coming to the surface because they're being cleaned out. So in my own process, that has been helpful for me. And so there are ways where we can get the support. If you would be interested in knowing more about it, you can reach out to me, but I'm not going to do a whole lot on it here. But we still can certainly reach out for the help and the support in coming out of that without bypassing. So, my friends, today I've been talking about when the bypass is no longer a bypass. And when that happens, then you are actually coming into freedom because you're leaving. Oh, I get a lot of, I usually get energy running down my body when truth comes through. So it's like that is basically what I want to end on, right? That this is our time to literally step out of the old and not let us be pulled into it anymore, even though the world, I don't need to tell you that the world is coming up with any and every trick in the book to make you afraid, to make you think you need to go out there and fight it or do or have opinions or taking sides. This is all part of the old false matrix. The more you recognize it, the more you can step out of it. So that's my invitation today, dear friends. And I don't know when my next YouTube will be. It's like it's moving or it's not moving. Today it was moving, and here we are. If you need support in any of this, coming out of that old, finding the new, stepping into it, please reach out. You can set up a free discovery session with me, and the link will be in the description. And then we can see if I'm the right support for you. Have a beautiful day, my friends.